You were told to find yourself, to discover your passion, follow your dreams, embrace who you are. But no one told you the harshest truth of all. If you don't decide who you are with brutal clarity, the world will do it for you. You will be shaped, manipulated, and broken by expectations you never chose. And every day you avoid that decision, you drift further from power, from freedom, from becoming anything at all. You are not a floating identity waiting to be discovered. You are a construction site. And the most dangerous lie of modern culture is that you can be anything without first declaring what you must be. Epictetus, a man born into slavery, gave us the sentence that should pierce every excuse we've ever made. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Not what you feel like, not what sounds good, what you must do. That's the only way, because if you don't say it, the noise will say it for you. The algorithm will say it, the system will say it, and you will believe it, obey it, and slowly die inside, wondering why your life feels like a copy of someone else's highlight reel. No clarity, no spine, no identity, just reactions and borrowed desires. But this quote, it demands something violent. It demands you stop hiding behind confusion and declare with military precision the man or woman you are becoming. No more pretending you don't know. You know, you've always known. You're just terrified that naming it out loud means you'll have no excuse left when you fail to live up to it. So say it. Not tomorrow. Now, say to yourself what you would be. And then, only then, the war begins. You are not here to feel better. You are here to take command. This video is your call to arms. If you're ready to become what you must become, then listen carefully. Everything from here forward is a weapon to destroy the lie and to build you. You've heard it 1,000 times. Be yourself. Follow your heart. Don't let anyone tell you who you are. But that phrase, repeated like a sacred mantra, has become the silent poison of a generation. Because no one tells you what it really means to be yourself. They sell it as freedom, but it often becomes a cage, an excuse, a life sentence of mediocrity. Epictetus didn't say, be yourself. He said, say what you would be, and then do what must be done. In other words, don't follow your current self. Shape your future self, mold it, forge it, and most importantly, command it into existence. Modern culture tells you identity is discovered like some buried treasure waiting in your soul. But the Stoics knew better. Identity isn't found. It's built. Built through repeated, intentional, violent acts of self-definition. The truth? Be yourself is a trap when you don't know who you are. Because who you are right now might be lazy, afraid, addicted to comfort, addicted to scrolling, addicted to watching other people live. And if that's the self you're being, then being yourself is the fastest way to destruction. That kind of identity deserves no loyalty, no protection. It needs to be dismantled and rebuilt from the ground up. That's why Epictetus starts with the word say, not guess, not wonder. Say it, declare it, verbalize it. Identity is a decision, not a discovery. And once you declare it, the hard part begins, doing what it takes to make it real. It's easy to say you want to be strong. It's easy to say you want to be disciplined. But are you willing to do what it takes every day without applause, without validation, without escape? Because here's the secret. Identity doesn't care about your feelings, your ideal self, the one you envision in your mind. It's not waiting for motivation. It's waiting for orders. Clear, sharp orders from a commander who knows what must be done. And if you keep waiting to feel like that person before acting like them, you'll die waiting. You must act first, then the identity follows. Be yourself is what they say when they want you to stay the same. Say what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That's what you say when you're ready to evolve, ready to destroy the excuses, ready to lead yourself instead of waiting for someone to rescue you. This is not about finding yourself. This is about becoming something worth finding. And that starts when you stop obeying your feelings and start obeying your future, the future version of you who's already waiting, already watching, already wondering if you'll finally show up. Epictetus wasn't offering a suggestion. He was issuing a command, and buried in that command is the most terrifying form of freedom you'll ever encounter. The freedom to define yourself and the responsibility to back it up. When he said, "First say to yourself what you would be," he was drawing a line in the sand, a moment where you stop floating and start forging, a moment where your identity is no longer inherited, but chosen. The Stoics didn't believe in fate as something that dictated your life without your input. They believed in fate as the playing field, and you, the strategist. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote in his Meditations, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. What you consistently think, you become. What you repeatedly do, you are." There is no separation between action and identity. There is no distance between your habits and your character. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That's not self-help jargon, that's war strategy. If you say you are a disciplined person but your mornings are chaos, your routines are weak, and your decisions are emotional, then you're lying to yourself every day. And every lie you tell yourself weakens your identity like rust weakens iron. Identity, real identity, is not a statement. It's a structure. It's not what you say when you're feeling inspired. It's what you build when you don't feel anything at all. A warrior doesn't wait to feel brave. A commander doesn't wait to feel clear. They act, they move, they execute, and only through execution does identity harden into something real. You want to be strong? Then do what strong people do, relentlessly. You want to be focused? Then behave like focus is your religion. You want to be dangerous? Then discipline must become your doctrine. You don't get the identity until you've paid for it in blood, sweat, and repetition. You don't become it until you've bled out the version of you that keeps looking for shortcuts. This is where most people fail. They think identity is a mood. They think it's a feeling that will eventually settle into place if they consume enough positive content or follow enough inspiring accounts. But identity doesn't come from the outside. It's an internal sculpture made from thousands of small, ruthless decisions. Every day, every choice, you are casting a vote for who you are. And if you cast enough votes for weakness, for distraction, for chaos, then you don't get to complain when that's who you become. But if you cast votes for strength, for clarity, for dominance over your mind, then slowly, brick by brick, you build an identity that cannot be shaken by mood, by doubt, or by failure. This is why the Stoics treated action as sacred. They didn't waste energy fantasizing about what they could be. They picked a target and moved. They declared who they were and proved it every day through action. And when they failed, they didn't cry. They recalibrate it. They return to the path, because true identity is not given, it is earned. You are not a mystery to solve. You are a blueprint to build. Say what you would be, then act like it's already true. Act like every moment is a test, because it is. And if you pass that test enough times, you won't have to wonder who you are anymore. You'll be it. Unshakable, unstoppable, undeniably real. Words are nothing. Ideas are cheap. Intentions are irrelevant. In the real world, only one thing matters: execution. What you do, not what you hope, not what you feel, what you do when it's hard, what you do when no one's watching, what you do when your mind begs for comfort. Execution is the final judge of who you really are. Nietzsche called it the will to power, not just the desire to act, but the actual force to break through resistance and impose form on the world. He said, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." That's the truth most people can't stomach. If you do not act in alignment with who you say you are, then your identity is a fantasy. You are not what you think you are. You are what you tolerate, what you repeat, what you allow, and every time you delay action, you confirm weakness. It doesn't matter if you've read all the books, if you've set the goals, if you've dreamed the dreams. If you haven't done the work, then your identity is a lie. And that lie compounds. Every day you betray your own word, you erode the ground you stand on. It's like building a castle on sand and wondering why it sinks. Think back. How many times have you said, "This time I'll change"? How many promises have you whispered into the night and broken by morning? That's not failure of skill. That's failure of execution, a failure of follow-through, a failure to obey the orders you give yourself. And the most dangerous thing, you get used to it. You get used to disappointing yourself. You normalize the betrayal. And once that happens, there's no voice inside you strong enough to lead. Your internal commander becomes a joke, ignored, ridiculed, silenced by the lazy committee that runs your life. Execution is what separates power from pretense. That's why the Stoics focused relentlessly on action. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." They didn't theorize endlessly. They moved. They lived in alignment with their principles, even when it cost them, especially when it cost them. If you say you value strength, then your actions must reflect that in your training, your speech, your posture, your diet, your focus. If you say you value clarity, then you eliminate distractions. You say no more often. You ruthlessly guard your time. And if you say you value discipline, then you must treat your impulses like enemies, not friends. Every day is a test, and you pass or fail with your actions, not your words, not your feelings, not your dreams, your execution. Your ability to take the abstract idea of who you want to be and hammer it into the concrete reality of what you actually do. People spend their lives waiting for motivation, waiting for signs, waiting to feel ready. But the truth is, the longer you wait, the weaker you become. Action builds identity. Identity fuels action. It's a loop, and it either spirals upward into strength or downward into shame. So ask yourself, who are you becoming through your actions? Not your hopes, your habits, not your fantasies, your patterns. If someone filmed your life for a week with no sound, would they be able to tell who you claim to be? If the answer is no, then nothing else matters until that changes. Because execution is the only truth, the only measure, the only thing the world will ever take seriously. All the rest is just noise. There's a war happening inside you, a quiet, invisible war, not between good and evil, but between who you are and who you pretend to be, between your shadow and your mask. Carl Jung called it the confrontation with the shadow, the moment when you stop blaming the world and start facing the darkness inside your own mind. If you say you want to become something greater, you have to kill the part of you that's in the way. The shadow is not a monster to defeat. It is a truth to integrate. It's every weakness you've hidden, every laziness you've justified, every excuse you've recycled to avoid pain. And if you don't face it, it rules you. It becomes the silent author of your failures, the secret architect of your self-sabotage. That's why transformation doesn't start with vision boards or inspirational quotes. It starts with a mirror, with honesty, brutal, surgical honesty. You say you want to be disciplined, then you must confront the part of you that lives in loops, that seeks comfort, that lies, and you must declare war on it. Not with shame, but with clarity. Not with guilt, but with fire. Jung said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul. But if you want to become what you say you will be, there's no other way. You have to face it. The parts of you you've hidden, the patterns you've normalized, the addictions you've justified, and you must expose them to the light of discipline. You cannot build a new identity on top of old lies. You must tear down the false image, the curated persona, the illusion of progress, and replace it with something unbreakable: integrity, action, truth, not once, daily, especially on the days you want to escape. This is not a journey of comfort. It's a crucifixion of the weak self, followed by the resurrection of the real one. And the only path to resurrection is through fire, through resistance, through deliberate suffering chosen in the name of your highest self. So stop hiding from the war. Enter it, lead it, command it. The mask has no power over the man who chooses to see clearly. You're not here to pretend. You're here to build, to reprogram, to rise. And it starts the moment you say to yourself, without doubt, without hesitation, this is who I am. And then you act like it's already true, again and again, until there is no difference between saying and being. Motivation is a liar. It shows up late, leaves early, and never stays when you need it most. If you build your identity on motivation, you're building a house on a swamp. It might look good for a while, but the first storm will rip it apart. That's why discipline must replace motivation. Discipline is memory. It's the act of remembering who you are, even when your feelings forget. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It commands. It executes. It shows up with steel in its spine when every part of you wants to collapse. And here's the brutal truth. If you only act when you feel good, you are a slave to your mood. And no slave ever built an empire. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they keep renegotiating with themselves. They keep asking, do I feel like it today? As if their mission depends on mood swings. But identity-based discipline doesn't negotiate. It acts from principle. It acts from vision. It acts from identity. James Clear said it best, every action you take is a vote for the person you want to become. But what happens when your actions don't line up with your identity? You feel hollow. You feel like an imposter because your internal world is crumbling under the weight of inconsistency. So how do you build identity-based discipline? You create a non-negotiable code, a personal doctrine, and you follow it like your life depends on it, because it does. Not every action needs to be perfect, but every action must be aligned. If you say you're focused, then distractions are no longer neutral, they're treason. If you say you're consistent, then skipping the hard things is not a delay. It's self-betrayal. Discipline is not a feeling, it's a system. And systems are what protect your identity. When the world gets loud, when the emotions surge, when everything inside you screams for comfort, a system doesn't care how you feel. It just moves. It just flows. It just holds the line. Build that system. Build routines that remove decision-making. Create triggers that activate action. Make your environment serve your identity, your desk, your phone, your calendar. Everything around you should be screaming who you are, not tempting you to forget it. When discipline is rooted in identity, you no longer need to force action. You become the kind of person who does it naturally, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. That's the key. That's the goal. Discipline rooted in motivations dies the moment you get tired. Discipline rooted in identity grows stronger every time you choose action over excuse. It becomes a self-reinforcing loop. You act because it's who you are, and because you act, it becomes more of who you are. When you understand that, you stop searching for hacks. You stop waiting for feelings. You stop outsourcing your willpower to apps, to quotes, to moods. You wake up and move. You execute because identity leaves no other option. You are not a robot, but you must become mechanical. You must become ruthless in protecting your standards, not rigid, but relentless. Because the moment you let your emotions vote, they'll always choose the path of least resistance. And that's the path that leads nowhere. So you decide now, will you keep living by emotions that change with the weather? Or will you install discipline like armor, worn daily, forged in fire, and strengthened through relentless, focused repetition? Your future doesn't need your feelings. It needs your discipline. It needs you sharp and ready. Now you've heard the quote. You've seen the philosophy. Now you have to decide. Not tomorrow. Now, because if you don't, the world will decide for you. Your impulses will decide. Your doubts will decide. And you'll wake up years from now realizing you never became the person you were meant to be. Not because you couldn't, but because you wouldn't. Epictetus didn't say, try to be better. He said, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Say it like a decree, like a warrior before battle, like a king claiming his crown. Then act like your life depends on it, because it does. You are not your habits. You are your choices. And you can choose right now to become something unshakable, something built, something worthy. But you must kill the illusion first, the illusion that you'll just drift into greatness, that the right video or the right time or the right opportunity will make it happen. It won't. You will. Only you. There's no hero coming. There's no sign, no moment of perfect clarity. There's just you and the war you must fight to take command of yourself. And you don't need to win it in one day. You just need to stop retreating. Most people die as strangers to themselves. They spend years scrolling, watching, wishing, comparing, never realizing that all along they were supposed to be building, forging, choosing, not consuming, creating. If you want to change your life, change your standard. If you want to become someone different, stop tolerating the old version. Kill it. Mourn it. Move on. Every time you slip, correct faster. Every time you fall, rise harder. Because there is no other way. And when it gets hard, and it will, remember this. The pain of discipline is sharp, but it's clean. The pain of regret is endless. It haunts, it festers, it rots you from the inside out. So take the cleaner pain, the honest pain, the one that builds you, the one that forges steel. You are not just capable of more. You are responsible for more. And now I want something from you. If you heard this and it pierced you, if you felt the truth land and stick, then write this in the comments. I choose to become who I said I would be. Write it now. Don't hesitate. Let that be the first action of the new identity. Not for me, for you. For the future you that's been waiting for you to stop lying and start building. And don't stop here. If you've made it this far, your journey is just beginning. Watch the next video. Strengthen your strategy. Tighten your code. Keep building. Keep choosing. Because every time you do, you close the gap. You can start with one choice, one commitment, one action right now.